Recently, my wife Ellen and I made a trip to Morelia, Mexico, and in order to get there, we flew. We took an airplane. We took 2 flights, actually, from St. Louis to Houston, from Houston to Morelia. Morelia is about 2 hours almost due west of Mexico City. We were there for a special, very special family occasion. And as I do from time to time, I do fly, as perhaps you do, for business, as well as for family, for pleasure. And on occasion, as I did going to Morelia, I sat at the window seat and I looked out over the countryside. It was a sunny day, looking at towns and cities, farms, ranches, hills, mountains, lakes, rivers, all of which led me to certainly a sense of gratitude, but also some reflection about this work that we are engaged with, this work of fundraising, this work of major gift fundraising. So what I want to do here for a few minutes is think about fundraising from 30,000 feet, from high above looking down. Some thoughts that perhaps encourage you. These are thoughts that encourage me as we think about, from a certain vantage point, what we're about in the day-to-day grind of having the responsibility to raise funds for our organizations. Thought number 1, we deal with the most wonderful people on the planet. This is without question true in my experience. That the donors we are privileged to work with are people of great generosity, deeply caring. They are people that, because they've been blessed with wealth, either inherited or accrued through hard work, through whatever direction, they have a sense of obligation to use their wealth to help others. They have a sense of stewardship, that they're on this planet for a given length of time, and they have resources which they must use wisely in order to make the greatest difference possible. You know, these folks are the millionaire next door. They're understated in their use of wealth. And they focus rather on how they can be far-reaching. They're thoughtful in terms of the importance of life and how they can use their treasures, their resources that have the greatest impact. Truly, the most wonderful people on earth. And we as fundraisers, we have this opportunity to engage with these kinds of people on a daily basis. And we're the richer for it. They inspire me to do my job better, but they inspire me to be a better human being. How fortunate I am, how fortunate we are to deal with such wonderful, wonderful people. Secondly, I like to think of this as a sacred profession that we share. Yes, we deal in the real world, and yet we're dealing with people in their deepest motivations, their greatest hopes and desires. We have to deal with stocks and bonds and properties, as do the donors, and yet all of this is but the transactional part of how to change the world and make it a better place for others. I watch donors make these great contributions, and they seemingly are transformed before my eyes sometimes. It's as if this act of contribution, this act of philanthropy, of charity, ennobles them. Their souls, as it were, expand, grow greater, because they're taking their eyes off of themselves and they're putting their eyes on others. They're taking their resources, rather than thinking of how to use it for themselves, but thinking about how to have the greatest impact on others. You know, someone said to me the other day that really, Martin, what you're involved with is a helping profession. And when I think of helping professions, I think of the work of nurses, the work of physicians, the work of psychiatrists, psychologists, the work of physical therapists. I'm having work done on my shoulders. I know the value of physical therapists, chiropractors, and the like. And yet, yes, as I thought about it, I had to say this is so true. We're about a helping profession too. Because it's our job, our opportunity, our service to think about how to help others become greater, how to help others have a greater impact with their lives while they're on this planet. Truly, we're helping them to do great things. And again, what a privilege this is for me, and a privilege it is for you. We're donor-centric. What we're about is creating partnerships for people, less so the focus on gifts. We're about focusing on bringing deeper involvement and engagement for people, and less focus on transactions. Yes, people make gifts, and yes, there's transactional dimensions to this work, but that's not the focus so much as the focus on is bringing those resources to have the greatest impact possible. So our work is not the focus on ourselves as fundraisers, but the focus on our donors and the focus on how the donors can make a difference. We stand, as it were, on behalf of our institutions, and in one sense on behalf of the donors, looking for a way to bring them together so as to have the greatest impact possible. We're donor-centric. After all, the resources belong to the donor, and yet we represent organizations with meaningful missions, doing important work that help others. And because of that, we can be that catalyst. We can be that way for the donor to take those resources, to join them to our mission, with our mission, and so together to have a significant impact in this world around us. Sometimes we have the privilege as fundraisers to awaken philanthropy in people. Working at the University of Missouri St. Louis as I do, and we recently, a year or so ago, marked our 50th anniversary, so we're a very young university. And we have alumni that are only now in recent years, our oldest alumni, only in the recent years beginning to consider significant philanthropy. They've accrued resources and assets. They're at a point where they're considering their legacy. They've taken care of the needs of their children, and in many cases their grandchildren. And they're at this point in time when they can think about how to extend those resources beyond themselves, beyond their families, to others to make a greater difference. And to help bring that about, sometimes for the first time, for us as fundraisers, is simply extraordinary. To bring someone into that experience of great philanthropy, where finally they're considering having the greatest impacts possible in this world with their resources. To be a facilitator of that is simply amazing and wonderful indeed. So we're to tread lightly as fundraisers, because these donors and their relationship to our organizations, they were here before us, they preceded us, and oftentimes that relationship between the donor and our organizations will succeed us after we're gone. And so during this period of time in which we facilitate philanthropy, we are to tread lightly, realizing that we are stewards of these wonderful and important relationships. A relationship that empowers donors, a relationship that empowers our institutions in order to have a greater impact and bring greater benefit to the world. So, flying at 30,000 feet allows us to think about some of the greater sides of this. Yeah, when we're in the trenches sometimes trying to raise money with the stress and pressure of the responsibilities have day by day, that grind requires terrific grit. And we're all dedicated and we're doing great things. And you have to step back, to rise above it, to look down, to think about the biggest picture is certainly something that inspires me. And I hope it inspires you. I invite you to go to the forum and to share your thoughts, your perspective, your 30,000-foot considerations to help inspire me and to help inspire others. And I thank you so much for listening today.